Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interviews with Podcast Room Brighton. I hope you are well. Today, I am very excited because this is a guest that I've been very looking forward to coming onto the series. He's got great insight, great knowledge into many different things, and he goes by the name of Ivan. Hello, Ivan. How are you today, my friend?
Hello, I'm very good, my friend. Thanks for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure you sitting in my studio, my friend.
Thank you.
So, talk to me. I mean, I know you obviously outside of the recording, but for the viewers at home, introduce yourself. What do you do, and what's your life story?
Okay, so I'm Ivan Maciel. I'm from Brazil originally. I came to the UK about 20 years ago. Uh, being in martial arts mainly, like that's my background. That's what my business is. Yeah, being running a business is being challenging times and stuff, and being doing really well. I'm very happy. Yeah, life is a journey. You can compare it a lot to what we do, martial arts. Lots of the foundation, all the elements of the martial art has really helped me to get where I am today, and helps to keep pushing.
Mm.
Is a challenge. The challenge will come. It will continue, and yeah, so I'm excited to talk about that, and yeah, let's see what happens.
So obviously you mentioned that you're from Brazil.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
part of Brazil are you from?
I'm from the south of Brazil,
Cool.
a place called Curitiba. For those that don't MMA or know anything about UFC, we had some great fighters coming from there: Anderson Silva, Vanderlei Silva, Shogun Rua. Um, I was born and raised in there. We moved to another place called Cascavel. That's where I learned my jiu-jitsu. That's where I spent my childhood. I had a great childhood, great foundations from mom and dad, very family orientated. Grew up at the church. Spent years. My one of my uncles is a pastor, so yeah, going to the church a couple of times a week and stuff. Being in the environment, it has helped me a lot to develop my faith in God and everything else, and that really helps in business. And
Mm.
like I say, challenges will come in life, and have a faith is really important.
Mm.
So I've been very lucky to be presented to God and know that He's there for me and for us,
Mm.
and that's something that has helped a lot, through the years and stuff. So.
It's very confident. Do you know what? I
Mm,
didn't actually know you had a faith, which is really
mm,
interesting because
yeah.
I've also got a faith and I've always had a faith for a long time. Similar to yourself, like
Hmm.
my mum has always had that belief in God and sort of like let me find my own belief, but sort of drip fed me
Yeah, yeah.
parts of it.
Hmm.
Do you have a traditional faith or is it
Yeah, we're
your own personal
Christians. Yeah, as
Christians?
most Brazilians, we're
That's beautiful,
Christians,
man.
Protestant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so being like I say, grew up in this like in that kind of environment. I should be going more to the church and stuff. I haven't been in a few years, but I think the foundation, is what the element of respect to yourself, treat the others like you want to be treated.
Love that.
There's in UK, I think people talk more about the karma. You
Mm.
hear more about karma and stuff, which is good. I respect all the religions and everything else,
Mm.
but yeah, I've been through a few challenging times. Especially when I arrived in UK and I came to Europe. I came to Italy before that. I can go over to that.
Yeah.
We have stories here for like a series. It's not just a movie.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah.
Netflix, a few episodes, I would say. But yeah, it's something that those that know what God is, and they'll know what I'm talking about. So have your belief and looking for it, and just I most of the time I'm just jump on things. I'm not the guy that analyzes too much, and so I do have my strategy in on the mat and in business as well. But I don't know, there's something there that tells me just go. I'm here for you, and I'm my partner. Always, even the small little things, I bless God for everything. For example, if I'm driving my car, we're looking for a parking space. I know I'm gonna find a parking space, and Brighton is really difficult
It's
to find a parking
hard,
space.
yeah.
Yeah, and my partner sure says Ivan's luck, Ivan's luck,
Ivan's luck.
and guess what? The parking space will be there,
Right there.
a simple parking space. So I bless God for everything. That's
Mm.
how I teach my son as well. Every morning before I go to bed and at night and in the morning, every time we're gonna go eat, and it's a bit of game for him. He's only 2 years old.
Mm.
It's a bit of like a playing around with that. But I think that will, he's already does by himself, which is great. So yeah, have a belief is such an important thing,
Mm.
especially in business, I think.
I do relate to that because certain
Yeah.
situations, either good or bad, you just you have that comfort, having that belief, it brings you that comfort of it's going to be okay, no matter what, whether it's
Yeah,
good or bad, because after every situation, it will all work out for a good,
yeah,
whether
yeah,
you learn a lesson from it or
yeah,
whether you get that promotion or whether you get that business, whatever, it will always work out, especially when you have a faith.
yeah,
And it's that comforting that just
yeah.
allows you to keep pushing forward, right?
Indeed, yeah. I mean, for me personally, oh, like I always relate to analogies. I like to use analogies to
Mm.
explain better, like maybe as my coach side. But for example, in my childhood, I relate to my mom being the good cop, my dad being the bad cop. No, not bad in a way, bad,
Yeah.
but the tough one. He
Yeah.
was a tough. So he taught me a lot about discipline and stuff, and I relate to that, and I thank him for that to this day. So the discipline to wake up in the morning, have chores from the age of 6. I already had my chores around the household to be done. You know, and yeah, and I know that I had to respect him. I never, I don't remember if I did, but I learned because I learned very quick and that no should never talk back, so they always never answer back, so
Mm.
should always respect
Mm.
his position as a father. So those things, they're little, right in the beginning, when you're young, when you're a boy, but they make a big difference. In
Mm.
maybe that's why martial art just like engaged, just
Mm.
like landed really well in my life.
Mm.
And my mom, the good cop, she would, as well as being, the one that I look for, like for comfort when I might be upset, oh, because dad asked me to do this and that, whatever.
Mm.
So as well as that, she was the one that was always like, don't worry about it. God can see this, like if someone done something like bullying or whatever, because we're all being bullied
Mm.
somehow, especially
Yeah.
my generation. And yeah, so then her reaction was never to fight back. Her reaction was, it's okay. God can see this. Everything will be okay. And yes, and like you said, everything will be okay. And then that's the kind of balance that I had at home,
Mm.
and I was so lucky to have that, because nowadays when I look back, where the will, the faith and the discipline, and there are things that nowadays you gotta be older and you get more comfortable in life. And I think you can give it yourself sometimes, like relax, okay, now chill,
Mm.
you're okay.
Mm.
So sometimes I look back and think, oh, but I wouldn't be okay 10 years ago. I wouldn't be this lazy, like, okay, I train 3 times a week nowadays, but before I would train like 7 times a week, even more,
Uh,
so but nowadays I keep thinking, okay, so it's okay to take a break and stuff. But because that guy, that Ivan from 10 years ago, from 20 years ago, that boy would be working like I have a payslip for my one of my first jobs in UK. I I worked for 104 hours in
in a
1 week.
week.
Yeah, in 1 week. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and I have a payslip to prove that
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
kept that. So I was to deliver I deliver pizza. I was to deliver sushi
Wow.
in London when my first place when I came to UK. I was in London. So 104 hours in 1 week. It would be like 80, like a not so busy week would be around 80 hours and stuff. But because I was, I just wanted to work. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make as much money as I could and learn, the language, because I knew
Mm.
for some reason that something good was coming. I had
Mm.
a feeling. So yeah, I have a pay slip 104 hours. And then obviously, if you make your maths now, probably people are just already see if this guy's lying or not.
Yeah.
It's around
Yeah.
16 hours a day. So so I was like pretty much, it wasn't right. Obviously, that was kind of illegal somehow,
Mm.
especially for that kind of delivery job.
Mm.
But yeah, I did that, and I'm glad I did when I was young, because I had all the energy and I had all the
Mm.
enthusiasm. Right now, no,
No
right
way.
now, I don't know. So what I always tell my students, and because we do talk about that, and I see sometimes I have students in jiu-jitsu that just teenagers, they're just starting their life, professional life and stuff. Do it now,
Mm.
and might be a bit um be funny to say that, but don't get a girlfriend. Yeah, don't get enjoy. Go to your festival like UK guys like to go do your stuff.
Mm.
Enjoy, have a good, enjoy your life. You're 16, whatever. But I would say don't get anybody pregnant.
Mm.
That's one thing.
Mm.
Don't get these big responsibilities, because this will become a big baggage.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it will be, and then it might affect you. You're not gonna. I think don't think you're gonna be able to be a good dad at that age, like such a young age.
Yeah. No.
You don't gonna have a good foundation.
Mm.
So I think you should wait for those things, 'cause they're beautiful. They're something that you can do. But when you have a foundation, then it will be able to be a better, to provide
Mm.
better. So there are the stages, especially nowadays, everything is so expensive and
Mm.
life is much more challenging right now, especially for young, for the young generation.
Mm.
So I think they should wait for a bit longer, build a foundation, and yeah, then be a good partner, be a good dad, and have the time. Now, like I say, going back to that, when you have this energy, all this testosterone, like for the boys and stuff, you just go put that towards something positive,
Positive, yeah.
towards work as much as you can,
Mm.
make sacrifices now.
Mm.
So hopefully then in the future, when you'll get to like a 40, 50, you can, just, slow down a little bit,
Mm.
enjoy.
I fully agree, and I think especially I'm going to say it because it's sort of my age range, right? From when you're 16 leaving school in the UK to probably about my age now, or even up to 30. These are your prime years to try and risk and
Yeah.
experience, and because like you're saying, in later years, like when you get to like your sort of age or even like a little younger or older, you're going to have big baggage and big responsibilities like making a family or buying a house or all
Exactly.
these different things. And
Yeah.
it's like, for me personally, is I would dread to ever feel this way. But when I'm older, I don't want to look back and have regret on not experiencing or not
Yeah.
trying or not risking.
Yeah.
Um, so I fully respect that and I fully understand that. But then with your life, then were you able to do that then? Because obviously, which, by the way, your parents have done an absolute great job. Like you are one of the best people I've ever met, like best person I've
Thank
ever
you.
met. Like no, like
Thank you. We
in
spend more
genuinely,
time
like
together.
well, yeah, well, no, but if what from what I've seen,
Yeah.
you're very respectful, very humble, very
Thank you.
positive, and you give off like great energy. So
Thank you.
your parents have done a great job.
Thank you.
Um, but then with your upbringing, because you're working so much and you were training obviously 7 days a week, were you able to experience that?
I was and I wasn't.
Mm.
Back then, I don't regret that. Like just answering is exactly the same way you just said. I don't regret.
Mm.
I think it's about sacrificing.
Mm.
What is the most important thing you have? We have. What is the most important thing you
Life,
have?
life, 100%.
Okay, life. Well, apart from life, time.
Time
Time
and
are the most.
family.
Our
Yeah.
biggest asset is our time.
Mm.
Okay, because time you come by. You know,
Mm.
when it's gone, the last 10 minutes that we had, we come back. We
Mm.
can't come back, right?
No.
So our time is our biggest asset. What do you make of your time? So it wasn't planned. It's just like I say, it's God. There's somebody there
Mm.
looking up for me, and I'm very lucky with that, grateful. But I was able to invest my time, and I've started working. My family in Brazil, they always had businesses. So graphic in the printing company. My uncle used to have that, and since a young age, my dad always used to say, "Look, you're gonna be working with your uncle." And your uncle would come on the weekends and visit and stuff. And then my dad, and he would come in a nice car and everything else. And my dad would be like, "Look, you're gonna be like your uncle one day. You're gonna take over the company, blah blah blah." And my uncle would be like, "Yeah, when you're gonna be old enough, you're gonna come over and work with me and blah blah blah." So I always had, like I said, setting an example,
Mm.
watching that and thinking, and my uncle was my hero, my dad was my hero in some ways as well. So always looking at that and thinking, oh, I want to be like that guy. And then again, time fast forward, I was 13, 14. I started working for the family business then.
Okay.
So going there, learning. I remember the first day I went there. Okay, so Monday morning, you come your first day. So I went there excited. Then went to my uncle's door, locked the door. Can I come in? Can I come in? Uncle, his name is Jair. Hey, Uncle Jair, can I do? He said, first things, here, I'm not your uncle. Here, I'm your boss. So you call
Oh,
me Jair.
okay.
So don't, because I always, as a sign of respect, I always call, uncle. I never call my mom her name. I never call my dad his name.
No,
I
no.
always call them
Yeah.
by whatever they are.
Mm.
So I always called him uncle. But still nowadays, he's not my boss anymore. I call him uncle again.
Yeah,
Still,
yeah.
even though he's 60 and I'm 40, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I remember that day, like for the first ever day as a working guy, as like in my professional life, I would say. The first lesson, I'm not your uncle here. Here I'm your boss.
Mm.
And man, he was so tough with me, and I thank him for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, even the way I sit in the computer in front of the computer, because that's what my job first was to create. I always like to create advertising stuff like that. So graphic industry back in the day, there was no AI or anything
No.
like that. Everything was manually, creating everything. So yeah, from the how you sit in the computer, remember how you hold the mouse, where you put your hand, where your hand on the keyboard, all those little things I learned from the scratch, everything.
Mm.
And again, that was just the beginning, and those are things that again, as I talk, I start remembering that because my subconscious mind
Mm.
is alive, is still there, that kind of experience. So yeah, so from that age, I've started really making choices rather than be at home um, playing Super Nintendo, which was at the time, Mario Kart, whatever.
Shout out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So rather than be at home doing that, what other kids would be doing, I was different. I was going, wake up early, going to the company to do the job, and in that also pushed my discipline
Mm.
because I was at the age of 15, I was probably already full time. I was working in the morning, working in the morning at the company, and in the afternoon I would go to school. So the here in UK is well high school, I think,
High school, yeah,
that
yeah.
age. So yeah, so I'll be busy the whole day. So I wake up like at 6 in the morning. We used to live probably, I don't know, probably like 4 miles from the place. So I needed two buses, to get catch two buses.
Wow.
And that time in Brazil it was very like here, it was very, very busy, and the buses are not as nice as now. So I would have to wake up in the morning. If I lost the bus, then I'll get late in there.
Mm.
And there were situations where I was late. I was only 14 years old, but every time I made a mistake, he would make me pay for it. He would
Yeah.
be very mad at me. So that, like I say, at the time was hush. If I done that to my son today, I would thinking, oh, I don't need to do that. But I think it did help me to,
Mm.
to keep all my open my toes,
Yeah.
to make sure my discipline was up there always. So yeah, so for the age of 14, I was used to it to be full time. Like say in the morning, I would go to work, spend my whole morning there learning and develop that side and then learn how the business works, then obviously he would teach me. I would say selling probably I do that more nowadays, like
Mm.
about the jiu-jitsu and stuff. But that's the only thing because but then you experience every part of the business. Like if I was teaching my son today, prepare him to take my business, I'll
Mm.
probably do the same. Okay, so that's how we get a customer, how we sell, how
Yeah.
we treat people, how we smile and everything else, all those little things. Then production, how do you create it, everything, how do you make it, how do you print, and I was learning, going in the back, learning the machines, how they work and everything else. That wasn't really my thing. I didn't spend too much time in there.
Yeah.
Then, doing the manual thing, like sometimes when you do like books and stuff, you need to get paper from one side, the other side, put it all together everything, cutting,
Wow.
packing it, delivering it, and everything. So I was learning from from a young age, and I was being prepared to take over the business.
Mm.
Luckily, I didn't because nowadays that kind of business is dead.
Yes. True. Yes.
But that did help me to, you know, to learn how a business work and everything else. And again, most and foremost, the discipline of being there.
Mm.
That time I don't know here in UK how it was, but we used to have a card. We put the card inside, you click, then it
Oh,
puts the
and then
time
it
you
timestamp or
in and
whatever.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that still applies now. But I remember I was at some point I was the one that's checking everybody's time. So I need to give who made the extra
Oh.
time, who missed and stuff. So again, I've been for that for quite a while, and that was I've been there for in that job for a few years. And after that, I left the company, and then I went to work for a company that I always liked. So long story short, it was a little magazine in my town that would have the girls and the nightclubs and everything that connected to like a 16. Or at that time I was about 16. And then I always would see like you go out, and then I would see the magazine like always like a beautiful girl in front, and then loads of advertising, then talk about what's going on in the city, like something like a Radio One kind of thing,
Mm.
like something young, something Virgin Radio and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always like that. Then I always thought about, I always liked that. Then for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was God again. I always gonna thank God,
Could be, man.
someone, I was starting jiu-jitsu, and then the jiu-jitsu guys, oh, my dad is the owner of is the owner of the magazine and stuff, and they were the ones that published that. We're looking for somebody. Then I was like, oh, I'm looking for a job. Man, I love that kind of. I was passionate about that. For young and stuff, I would like to be involved in something like this.
Yeah.
Then they gave me the opportunity. So look, just go there for a trial, see if you like it, like you. Then I went there, because of jiu-jitsu,
Mm.
and then they gave me the job. Within a year, I was like 17 years old. I was already the main guy there, the artwork designer.
Wow.
So already working on that, and again, I wasn't. I don't think I ever went to work, apart from obviously in the beginning,
Mm.
that was tough to develop the foundation. But I never went to work not wanting. Even in UK when I had my jobs here, delivering pizza and stuff,
Mm.
I was wanting because I wanted to learn language. I wanted to
Yeah.
have the experience one on one with customer and stuff, and when you do delivery as well, you kind of need to learn the roads and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I always was my mind was always engaged somehow,
Mm.
looking forward to that. So when I went to work like a magazine, I was going to work, but like I would work for free there if I had to, because I loved that to be doing that. I would get pictures of the ladies and stuff, and choose help with the rest of the team. choose what would go on a cover,
Mm.
and then work the effects. And then I would look on the magazines, big magazines, how they do, like they put the name of the name of the magazine at the back of their
At the
head in
back of
front,
them, yeah,
cut the
yeah.
hair, all those Photoshop stuff, get with the Photoshop. So that for me was like I couldn't wait to get there, to be doing that, or even create like we'll then have like events coming up. So like this party is coming up, and I was like the first one to know, because obviously we're talking about what we're gonna do in order to advertise that.
Mm.
So being involved in that kind of scenario was always exciting.
Mm.
And then from there, I had a great one of the customers was connected to us, was a big radio station in Brazil called Jovem Pan. Jovem Pan is like Virgin Radio here, like
Okay.
a BBC One, big a big young kind of uh, people like to hear that and stuff. So then I start like do work for them. Whenever they would come around, they would start this good connection. They gave me the opportunity. They said, "Look, would you come work for us instead?" So they saw my job. They wanted me to go work for them.
Mm.
And then by the age of 21, I was working that radio station, which is like is a franchise, but it's the biggest radio station in Brazil. Everybody
Okay.
knows. Now they have a TV as well.
Oh wow.
So then I was able to to double my network in there, like get to know, more people and stuff like that. And again, as I was growing as age, I was getting older, getting more experience. I was in a great position. By the age of 21, then I was already like doing advertising, the university and stuff like that. Then I was brown belt in jiu-jitsu already, and I had my car. And in Brazil, here life is a bit easier in that sense.
Mm.
But in Brazil, to have your car in that stage is something very unique. It's not easy, especially going by yourself, not having parents or anybody
Mm.
giving you. So my mom always pushed me to always worked on this side of business kind of thing, to invest, to put your money there, save your money. My mom is very very tight. I'm like that as well. So yeah, she always kind of incentive, give me the incentive to push me to that, to save money, to put in the bank, save. Then you have enough. So by the age when I was 16, when I was 14, when I started working, she already opened a saving account for me, and then I was like put a little money that I was earning every month. And then by the age of 16, I already bought my first moped.
Wow.
Then when I got a moped, then I was going everywhere and stuff, going to work, whatever. Then she started opening another saving account for me towards a car. Then by the age of 18, when I had 18 years old, I was working then at the magazine.
Mm.
Then she gave me she paid for my driving license, and then I bought my first car. Then by the age of 21, I already had a better car. Always that mentality of saving
Mm.
up for, at the time, it's a car. I didn't think about property or anything,
Yeah.
but yeah, my goal was always buy the better car at that age. So I had a great life already at 21 years old. I was brown belt in jiu-jitsu, which was amazing. I had a girlfriend. I had a good job everybody knew what I was. And I was in my job as well. I had great people working with me, so I was happy in every way. Then I had an uncle who would come on weekends to play Wing 11 at the time. It's called the FIFA, like FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA. I used to play FIFA.
Wing
Yeah.
11 was great. And then we spent the weekend like that, playing the weekend after lunch with the family. And my uncle was always like, "Oh, do you know that you have Italian citizenship. You just need to go to Italy to get your papers right, and just to claim your citizenship. But you can't do that." And then I was like, "Okay, whatever. I got a great life here. Why are they gonna change this?"
Mm.
Then every weekend he would come and he would say a little bit. He would like hint, "Oh, look, I think this is a good life, but you
Mm.
can do better than this. 1 year in Europe is 3 years in Brazil." And I remember him saying that.
What was his reason for saying that though?
Well, he first of all, he's very successful what he does, very
Okay.
knowledgeable guy, very wise. He came to Europe a few times. He's got he's a physio. He had a clinic in Brazil. He had a
Okay.
big business there,
Mm.
so he had experience. He came out of the bubble, so what was here, and went back to the bubble basically.
Okay.
So he knew what was expecting me
Okay.
here. And I have a letter. Is in my wallet. I have a letter that he wrote to me 20 years ago.
No way.
Probably now it's gonna be all sticky and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every couple of years I look at that. But it's in my wallet. It's like on the day that I left Brazil, because obviously he carry on saying that, and then at some point, okay, let's go to Italy then. Let's get my Italian passport and see what happens. And then I left there. He gave me that letter, put it inside my wallet,
Hmm.
and then I came first of all to Italy, the age of 21, to get my all my papers right,
Mm.
and to get my Italian passport. At the time, UK was part of the European Union,
Mm. Yeah.
so at that time I could come to UK legally. That's what I did at the end.
Mm.
But before I get there, before I got my all my visas and everything, that's where jiu-jitsu came to play, because
Okay.
I never done jiu-jitsu
Mm.
in order to teach and fight or anything. Jiu-jitsu was just my hobby,
Mm.
My thing always in my jiu-jitsu, my passion obviously, but my first passion was advertising, like marketing and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do that nowadays, obviously, as a hobby, of my for my
For your,
brand.
yeah.
So yeah, when I came to it, but then arriving in Italy, I couldn't speak the language, and I couldn't work because, like, I don't know, like, probably not your case, but when we foreigners come around to a different country,
Mm.
normally we cannot work,
Mm.
so we need a visa, or like in Italy, you need a permission to work.
Mm.
So even though I had all my papers, but it wasn't really like stamped yet,
Stamp. Right.
I couldn't work. So for a few months, and that's really when people that have immigrated, they know what I'm talking about. You missed everything. I had a great life, everything, girlfriend and everything. I
Yeah.
left everything behind, and I came um, to Italy from imagine all day. That time there was no Facebook,
No.
there's no like
No
anything
social
that you can
media.
spend all day, like obviously you can look in a good way or a bad way, but at that time was nothing there out
Mm.
there. You would be like depressed, like instead. As I was.
Mm.
So it was 3 months like that, and there was a jiu-jitsu gym around the corner. I would go like once a week or so to train. Jiu-jitsu at the time wasn't as popular as today. So I made friends there. The jiu-jitsu community over there was great, as usually jiu-jitsu community they're great.
Mm.
And and then what the time is, my auntie, the one that I was living at, she lives in Italy. She did not want me to go to jiu-jitsu. She wanted me to go to look for a job, but she knew that I couldn't work. So I had a clash at home. At home, the situation wasn't great.
Mm.
So I would go to jiu-jitsu to don't be at home,
Yeah.
to kind of clear the air and stuff. Then I would compete. Like the only way I was making money there was to compete. Like Royce Gracie was like my biggest inspiration at the time. Royce Gracie is the one that started UFC and everything. He won the UFC 1 and 2 by only using jiu-jitsu,
Mm.
and that's the mentality that I always, when I was training jiu-jitsu, that's the mentality that always has been given to me by my coaches, that jiu-jitsu alone, if you only know jiu-jitsu, you should be able to submit any black belt in any other art, like for like jiu-jitsu against karate, jiu-jitsu against boxing.
Mm.
And still jiu-jitsu it has been proved that jiu-jitsu is superior to any other art,
Yeah.
like for like.
Mm.
Then I always had that mentality, and then I thought, what, I got jiu-jitsu, I'm brown belt, and at the time brown belt was like a black belt today. It was like, it was a really high rank. I
Mm.
was one of the highest rank in the gym that I was training at. And then I remember I fought for like a few quids. I remember once I went to a place called Arona in Italy, and I had no money. And then one of the coaches said, look, there's this Vale Tudo. Vale Tudo is, I don't know if you've ever heard, but Vale Tudo is like the
Um,
MMA, the old school MMA. Anything is allowed. So he
okay.
said, look, there's a Vale Tudo competition there. Um, you're gonna be wearing like some like protection and stuff, but it's like Vale Tudo. You can do anything. If you want to go there, you get 50 euros if you want. But then the guy charged. Remember, it was only 50 euros, but he still charged his commission 20%. So
Oh,
I
okay.
still had to pay
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
euros to him. So I made 40 euros. I went there. I won the fight like in a few seconds. I took the guy down and choke him.
Yeah,
It
just a
was
few
yeah,
seconds.
it
Yeah, yeah.
was yeah. I mean, but that's what jiu-jitsu gives you.
Yeah,
It gives you
that
the
ability.
technique, gives you the
Yeah.
confidence to go. I travel. I think I probably also I spent some money probably with the train to go from. I was living in Milan.
Mm.
So I went there, fought, submitted a guy, then got my 50 euros. The guy took his 10, his 20%.
Oh,
And then yeah, that was what I was doing on weekends. I was
yeah.
going to compete, and I've done that for a few months into my papers, because meanwhile the papers were being hopefully being done by the home office there.
Mm.
So yeah, fighting for 50 euros, like that was where I was at. That's the only thing I could do. And then one day I went to Switzerland. There was a competition in Switzerland, and I was with these other Brazilian guys that should teach there. We became friends and stuff. And then they said, look, there's a competition in Switzerland. If you wanna come this weekend, you can come with us. Like we'll give you a lift, so you don't spend any money, because at that stage you count your pennies, So everything,
Mm.
is. And then I stayed in someone's house. So I remember sleeping in the kitchen, because so many Brazilian guys there to this competition, so many of us. And then there's no place, like there's no bedrooms available, of course not.
Mm.
There's no place in the living room. I slept in the kitchen in front of the sink. I remember just slept in
Wow.
there. Yeah,
Sacrifice, man.
yeah. That's how. But
That's how it
that's
had
how
to
it
be.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this thing, it's never been a big deal for me. Okay, no problem. How can I sleep here? Oh,
Yeah.
at least I had
A roof
a
over your
roof over my
head.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love
So I
that.
remember I slept in there. And then next day we went to the competition. And then there was no brown belts. I was brown belt at the time. There were no brown belts there. And all the higher grades are us, friends, Then I remember one of the guys, look, I think we're gonna end up fighting each other. And then I ended up fighting the guy that owned the flat that I stayed at, and João his name. And then he was a bigger guy and everything else, but I had to fight the black belts in a mix. And then because there was a prize for the winner, the other guys were more well off. So they said, look, we're gonna share the prize, and then we just have fun here. Whoever wins wins. We're not gonna do this like serious,
Yeah.
But we fight,
Yeah.
and then whoever takes the prize, we share between us.
That's nice.
They didn't need to do that because I wouldn't win that. They're much better. They're very much more
Yeah.
the caliber, much more caliber than I. Anyway, so we did that, and then when I went to do the fight with this guy João, went to kind of do a demo and stuff. We didn't. I was kind of waiting for him and stuff because obviously he was the black belt, I was the brown belt, and then he went on Kataguruma, which is like a takedown where he goes under, and then he kind of I put my hand on the ground and my elbow just went that way, so I injured my arm. I broke my arm, right?
Oh wow.
Then the fight we lasted like 5 seconds or so because, like I say, we're not serious. And then I think if we went serious, then it'd be different. But for whatever reason, I broke my arm. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I broke my arm there, and then on the way back, I remember we didn't. I think I can. I have pictures and stuff for this and the video of the fight. But I came my arm out. Like it wasn't painful, but the arm I couldn't see the elbow was out like this, all the way from Switzerland to Italy because it's a driving.
Yeah.
So I remember we went, then I went to hospital in Italy because as Italian, even though I didn't have my documents yet, but I still could get
You still could get
seen
healthcare.
free of charge because I didn't have
That's
any
good.
money,
Okay.
to sort out. Then so then I go out, we put the cast, my arm, and I went back home, and my auntie then she was mad because she said, see, I told you the jiu-jitsu thing, you're never gonna give anything, she didn't believe that jiu-jitsu would transform my life basically. Then it was the relationship with her was very difficult in her house, but it's again her house,
Yeah.
I'm just like a guest, so I couldn't need to respect that. So then in Brazil we say if you those that don't, if you don't like it, get off. There's a
Get
Brazilian
out.
saying, yeah, get
Yeah.
out. Yeah, if you're not happy, like you get out.
Yeah.
If you'll find something better. And then I took my luggages and everything, and I just went to the street with my cast, and with my big bag, my 23-kilo bag by the street. And then I had a little mobile at the time, called my friend, one of the guys from the gym, and I said, look, thank you for everything. I'm just going to say thank you very much. I'm going to be calling my mom now. She's going to send some money, wire some money so I can buy a ticket. I'm going to go back to Brazil after 3 months. I'm going to go back to Brazil because, come on, there's nothing working for me here.
Yeah.
I got my arm broken. I have no money, man. And I didn't need that because I had a great life in Brazil. And then you're a human being. You will compare. The comparison is always going to be there. Because then I feel like, look, my life in Brazil, I've got everybody there,
good,
got everything. Here, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So, I was like, no, I don't need this. I'm going to go back to Brazil. And then the friend said, look, but you came here to do what's your goal? My goal is to get my passport, get my citizenship. Yeah, but you didn't get that yet. So we help you. We help you, come sleep at the gym, sleeping like on the floor in my house, whatever, because, we help you. We share the bread that we got here. I haven't got much, but we were here for you. That was jiu-jitsu does for you. Jiu-jitsu, you meet people, most people in jiu-jitsu are like that. They will be there for you.
Yeah.
And then they said, where are you? I'm here, near San Siro, which is where we usually live there. And then I said, okay, I will send one of the guys to pick you up there, and then you come with me. Go to the gym. No, actually, I went to the gym. Come to the gym. I'll meet you there. And then we go back to the train because we usually live nearby. And like I said, I got pictures and everything. The good thing is, I always, I'm a visionary in this sense. I'm joking, but coincidence. I used to have like a Sony Cybershot, one of the first cameras from Sony.
Oh yeah.
With a big screen. And I used to do selfies and like videos, like telling about like a little
vlog,
vlog, exactly. Today I'm doing this. I've got those videos
that's
from like
so
20
cool.
years ago.
So cool.
Never know. Maybe one day put it all together.
Yeah, put it all together and show us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember I was with my cast and yeah. So my friend then met me at the gym, and then I went back to his house nearby Milano there, and we stayed in there. Then I had that cast for a few weeks we removed that. I had to remove that, to in order to be able to to teach at the gym. I
Mm.
was teach some private lessons, some classes for him, just in exchange for a place to stay.
Yeah.
And long story short, from there, jiu-jitsu always look after you, man. Jiu-jitsu is like that, like it
So
gives you
cool.
a great network,
Mm.
you know. From there, that friend of mine, he introduced me to somebody else. That guy is from, he kind of is a manager, like football manager, like not a big one, a small one, like
Yeah.
guys from Brazil who play. He discovered the talents in Brazil, like a scout, they call.
Oh, like a
Yeah,
scout. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he gets a guy from Brazil, he got contacts in there, brings the guys to pay for their accommodation, whatever. He invests in that, their
Okay.
career. And then a couple of guys became a big thing. So then he was like, "Oh, do you play football?" I was like, "Yeah, I play football." I should play football, I'm all right.
Yeah.
But then I said, "Yeah, I play football, do jiu-jitsu, play football, whatever, man.
Yeah. Let's
Anything
do it.
into
Yeah.
my visa came, my documents got signed.
Yeah.
I needed to do anything really for money. And then I remember then he said, "Look, when you were good with the arm, because I had the cast,
Mm.
when you remove that, I can take you to my house where I keep the guys in there. He had like a room there where the guys will stay with him until they go to the club where they will play. You can stay in my house for a few months if you want. We can put you to play. I can test. I'm happy to help you." And like I say, he was more to
Wow.
help me. And then I said about my visa. No, when your visa comes, then you decide. If you want to stay, you stay. Then if you don't, we became friends basically.
Yeah.
And then was in 2006 when the World Cup was in Germany.
Mm. I
And I
remember that.
remember we went there. And yeah, at that time, that's what I did. I spent time with him, and then obviously my job with the marketing, with the advertising, he had his brand as well. He had some business going alongside. I helped him with that, so we kind of helped each other
Yeah.
in that sense. And then we go into the World Cup. That was nice. Those nice stories, nice crazy stories as well about that. With no money, just went with the
Mm.
money from for the train and
Mm.
back. And when you got back, the few days after that, the World Cup, my visa came,
Oh,
my
nice.
citizenship
Yeah.
got approved by the Home Office in Italy. And then at that time, I already had spent probably 7 months, was in probably July of 2006. And then I thought, no, man, I mean, Italy is great, I'm Italian, half Italian, but it wasn't for me. I
Mm.
didn't feel connected
Mm.
there. Um, you know, it wasn't working. Then for some reason, I had this contact with a Brazilian guy from Jiu-Jitsu as well, that he was living in London. And then I just text him. Those times there was no like WhatsApp or anything.
No, no.
It was like sending an email today. People reply a few days. I
Yeah,
sent him a
yeah,
message, and after a few days he replied.
yeah.
I said, "Look, got my European passport. I'd like to come to England to start my life. Would you help me?" He's like, "Mate." He says, in Portuguese, like, "Oh, come over. Don't
Mm.
worry, come over." That's all his words were. And then we had a brief conversation. I said, "Look, I'm coming this day. Like, I'm coming on Saturday at 7 p.m. He said, "Okay, no worries. Wait there. I will send my brother." That's what the conversation was.
That was it.
And I came. I came so unprepared that I had $20 in my pocket. I didn't have pounds. I didn't have euro. I had
Yeah.
$20 in my pocket. I had no money. I just had my ticket and my bag and my medals. I had lots of medals and stuff like that. I remember the airport. They would check, "Oh, what the hell
Yeah.
is this?"
What's all this? Yeah, yeah.
So I remember I had that. And then I came and I sat, wait for 3 hours there. I like, okay, I text him, "Look, I'm here. I'll be going." And I had this camouflage army trouser that one of the students gave to me in
Oh,
Italy, because
nice.
in Italy they got this American base near Milano. And yeah, so to distinguish for anybody, so okay, I'm gonna be wearing my camouflage trouser, like an army trouser, and I'll be sitting there somewhere because I didn't know the airport, so I'm gonna be sitting somewhere there.
Mm.
And then I sat there and wait. And then I remember looking outside, like, oh, the cars are driving in the wrong direction. Because for me, I never seen that before. I couldn't speak the language. I had no English, no money,
Oh,
nothing.
wow.
I don't know what I was told. I just sat in there and wait for the guy.
Mm.
And the guy, like in those movies, that someone's secret comes around. "Are you the guy?"
Yeah.
Fine.
Are you him?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, among so many people in the airport, the guy came straight to me. "I can see your trouser. Are you the guy?" "Yes." "You Ivan?" "Yeah." "Okay."
Nice.
So Orjulon, his name. Orjulon took me up. And then his brother. Then he picked me up. And then that's when my story in the UK started,
Wow.
that day. Yeah.
That is insane. Like the fact that so you took the ultimate risk coming to the UK as well. Was your arm healed at that point as well?
Yeah, mine was
So
good.
so
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
you had
yeah,
no money. You've just
yeah,
recovered from a
yeah,
broken arm,
yeah,
no job, no
yeah.
family to like rely on, and yet
No.
you still took the risk. You still came out here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bro.
Yeah, you know, but
There's not many people that do
yeah.
that sort of thing, man.
Yeah, no, I think people do. People do.
People do, but
People do.
like
When
not
the
as
thing is,
common.
when you have no choice. I had choice. I had
True.
choice. I could go back to Brazil. I would.
Yeah.
God knows I'll be great in Brazil. My family has a good foundation in Brazil,
Good.
and I had skills to be good in Brazil too.
Mm.
But for some reason, God wanted me to,
Yeah.
to
To come
write a
here.
story
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then from there, long story short, I've started the day after. Remember, I arrived on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. And I, no, it was Saturday, I think, because I went to the a friend said, "Look, I'm going to pick up my bike somewhere." Then I thought, oh man, perfect opportunity for me to go with somebody to get to know the area. I went to Kingston in Surrey,
Nice.
so perfect time for me to go get to know the area. You know, I
Mm.
wouldn't be like I respect that, but I wouldn't. If you come to work, for example, I came here to work. I didn't come for tourism, and still 20 years I haven't been to the best places in UK, like a new K, like the beaches. I haven't been
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the best beaches around in other areas. I don't know. It's not, that does not appeal to me. I'm always involved. Is there work? There's something to do to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That what fascinates me. Anyway, so the guy said, "Look, I'm gonna go around." So I thought, no, perfect opportunity for me to get to know the place. Then we walked a couple of boxes, and then I was like, "Oh, there's an Italian place called Fratelli Brothers, in Italian." Oh, at that time I was already speaking a bit Italian, so today I speak Italian as well. So
Mm.
at that time my Italian was good. Then I thought, well, perfect opportunity for me to get my first job.
Mm.
Then I went there and I say, "I'm looking for a job." That's the only thing I said. Yeah, I'm looking for a job. Then the guy, parla italiano. I said, "I speak Italian." Yeah, I speak. Okay, speak Italian. I'm looking for a job. Anything really, like I just need money to pay my rent because
Mm.
I had no money.
Yeah.
I was sleeping on my mate's on the floor next to my mate's bed. That was,
Wow.
I had like a mattress there, and that's it. That's where I was sleeping. He said, "Look, you can crash here for a few weeks." But I knew I knew something was gonna happen.
Mm.
Then, long story short, the Italian restaurant gave me the job, the opportunity, to do a kitchen porter and stuff like that. And then, yeah, I worked there for 3 months. It was the first time ever that I got sacked.
Really?
Yeah,
Why'd you get
because
sacked?
I got sacked because I couldn't speak the language.
Oh,
That's
okay.
pretty much was because he needed somebody to sell coffee, to be in
Yeah.
front of the desk, and it lasted 3 months. I worked there from August to around December after Christmas. Gets a bit quiet.
Mm.
I remember I was cleaning. My part of my job was I was serving. So the ladies and him, they were selling this is small businesses, that's Italian delicatessen, like coffee shops and
Mm.
stuff. So they would sell the coffee and stuff. I would go around, the waitress, it was the waitress job, but I couldn't speak the language much. I would say
Yeah.
yes sir, no sir. Anyway, so he needed somebody, and then I remember I was at the end of the day, like it was a 4 o'clock. We finish at 6. When it gets quiet after lunch, usually like start cleaning the tables, push the table to the side, clean up.
Yeah.
So I was doing with the broom there, looking down like this. I remember I remember today he arrived his feet like this in front of me. I just looked like this, and he was like, "Ah, Ivan, you're a good boy and stuff. I know you work really hard, but I need somebody that speaks the language."
Oh
And when
man.
he was talking, my tear just grabbed down. I was
Yeah.
like heartbroken, because I never been sacked in my life.
Mm.
It wasn't really sacked. It was just,
He had to let you
it
go.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, let me go. Yeah, that's a good way to put
Yeah. You weren't
it.
sacked. You were just let go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then he was like, "I need somebody that speaks the language, and you don't." But I said, "Look, go learn the language. Go," because and to that point, I was just and still I have my English came from work, from my experience one on one like this.
Mm.
So then yeah, so that was a in Brazil. There's another saying, that even a kick in the butt makes you go forward. So that's pretty much what he did.
I like that. Yeah. It makes you
Yeah,
go forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. And yeah, then from there, like say fast forwarding, then I start working as Domino's Pizza. There's Domino's
Nice.
Pizza around.
Love
So I start
Domino's.
delivering. Yeah, me too. The garlic pizza bread.
Oh, yeah. The garlic
Yeah,
piece of bread.
yeah,
Don't, because I'll go get it right now.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so Domino's Pizza, then Itsu delivery, Itsu
Yeah.
sushi.
Yeah.
Then after that, when I was working at Itsu, I wasn't in this Brazilian nightclub, like a Brazilian night, it was an English nightclub, but a Brazilian night there.
Mm.
My friend and I were there and stuff, and then this fight broke in there. Then there was loads of bottles throwing at the time and stuff, and we were just like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" I was just
Yeah.
watching, don't get involved, but just watching that. But it took a long time for them to sort it out. Then I was like, then I look at my friend and say, "Look, that's a good opportunity. Even in that scenario, there's an opportunity for business."
Mm.
I look at my friend, there's an opportunity. Look, they know what they're doing, these bouncers. Then we approached the Brazilian guy that was promoting the promoter. I said, look, um, man, that was very bad handled. We could handle that much better if there's a if you need security here, proper security.
Mm.
I'm a brown belt, my friend is a blue belt, so we could we're happy to to join you guys and maybe even to teach something for these guys because
Mm.
they didn't know what they're doing.
Mm.
Then the guy was, oh man, we really need that. I love the idea, but I'm just a promoter here. I can introduce you to the owner of the club, but I think here in UK you need a license, the SAA
Yeah,
badge.
yeah.
It was just being introduced at that time. And then then we introduced to the owner of the club, but the owner said, "Look, you need the SAA badge. I can give you the job. You can stay here as a glass collector. You
Mm.
know, I won't name the guy now, but
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you can
yeah.
be a glass collector. That's what we did for a while. But you need to do your course to get your license. Once you got the license, the badge, then you can work.
Yeah.
And that was my first goal in UK
Was to
was
be
to
a
get my badge. Then I remember that I couldn't speak the language properly. Obviously, I understood that because the promoter was next to us translating what the
mm.
guy said to us. But then I went look for next day. I went online, whatever, to look for SAA badge, and you need obviously the course. You need to do a course, get qualified, and then you need to apply. They
Mm.
provide your background and
Mm.
everything. Your criminal record and everything. So I look at that, and obviously knowing understanding the language, I look at that and thinking, damn, there's just so much things to do,
Mm.
you know. Then anyway, I look for that, and a funny story about that is that I used to live in Kingston. Kingston is like South London, right? Then I found a place to do the course in North in Wembley. Then because I wasn't very confident talking on the phone and I had nobody to do that for me, I had a little moped. My first thing I bought in UK was a little moped 125. Then I bought a motorbike, and then I thought, well, I don't know how to talk to these people. I need to get this thing done. I can't just wait or ask anybody.
Mm.
So I took the bike, and then I went all the way from South London all the way to Wembley just to ask information. I went to the office.
Wow.
Look, how much the course can I sign in? So something that you could do by calling
Mm.
or nowadays obviously online or an app
Online
or
stuff,
whatever.
yeah.
I went all the way over there, you know. So I spent my time and everything else. But those things there, they build a good foundation.
Mm.
Those things make you appreciate, when you actually, oh, now, well, the first time that I could order a pizza, on the phone. Because
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
now apps and the website, but before you'd have to call
Have to
and
call,
everything.
yeah.
So, things like that, when you start actually, even selling, like people
Mm.
call and stuff, then you don't forget where you come from. So I remember those struggles of
Mm.
having to be in person rather than because on the phone it would be very difficult to deal with.
Mm.
Then yeah, then done my course. It was difficult. I had a little bit of help from the colleagues. A guy from Nepal. I remember this guy helped me with the test and everything else. You have to do when you're struggling. You have to you have to go for it. You have to
Mm.
go to the kill.
Mm.
And I did everything that I could do to in order to get that because I needed the license. Otherwise, I would have to still doing the delivery. It
Mm.
was not for me the delivery thing.
Mm.
And then I got my badge after
Okay.
a few months with the certificate. I got my badge, and that badge opened doors because then I started working in the security industry, and an opportunity to come to Brighton came
Oh,
along.
okay.
So they needed MMA was starting at the time. That's 2007.
Okay.
MMA was starting in Europe, was coming to Europe, but jiu-jitsu also was very very new here.
Mm.
So my coach came to UK, got denied entry and stuff for some reason, like say, God
God's
writes,
plan.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, God's
God's
plan.
plan.
So he was supposed to be here to teach jiu-jitsu, but got deported. He got arrested and then deported from UK. And then
Damn.
he said, "Look, there's a student of mine. He's in UK. This is his number." Then a Sunday morning, was a Sunday morning, this guy called me. It's like, "Look, I'm looking for a coach here. Your name, your number has been given by Brigadeiro, your coach.
Mm.
Would you like to come here? We're in Brighton. I never heard about Brighton. Never know it existed. Then I took the bus, whatever time, like a week after that. I took a bus, came to Brighton, taught a class, they liked. Then the guy said, look, if you'd like to come to teach, be regular here. They said, look, I'm happy, but for the money they were going to pay, wouldn't make sense for me to come all the way,
Mm.
move my whole life here. And I had my brother already with me. My brother came a year after I was in London. He came to
Nice.
stay with me. There's like, look, I can't come for that amount of money. They said, what do you do? Like, I do security. Oh, perfect. The guy that owns the gym, because this was just a guy who was renting space, to do jiu-jitsu there,
Mm.
like into a jiu-jitsu practitioner, love the art and stuff. But the owner of the gym, Saul Gilbert, which is a good friend of mine here, very well known here in Brighton, he had the gym and also had a security company. And then I was like, look, so that's
Mental.
perfect. So if I can work a night doing security, I can teach during the day. And then that's how I started. I moved down. Then I got to know Saul and stuff in those trips. I came a couple of times to make sure that I was what I wanted, and I could deliver what they expected as
Mm.
well. So we are both happy. Then he already booked me to work. Actually, it's right here in the corner. It's called Bohemia. You know
Yeah,
Bohemia.
Bohemia. Yeah,
So I started working there. At the time, it was called Sky Bar. For those from Brighton, will
I do
remember.
recognize that. Yeah,
That's like, but that's like 18 years ago. A long
yeah.
time, long time. So it was called Sky Bar.
Mm.
I remember I came to work at Sky Bar on Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, no, on Fridays and Saturdays
Mm.
to start with. Then I would have a little, we got 10 pounds, whatever, for the classes. For each class, I would do at the gym. A couple of classes I would do for free to help the business to
Yeah,
grow and stuff. Yeah, I was probably on 200 pounds a week at the time, altogether, you know. But at that time, my rent was probably 300.
yeah.
so,
So you could
so
make it in a
yeah.
week, sort of thing.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so I have this rule, you know, like in that, at least that's my rule, you know. And if people like, they can kind of copy that. uh, the 25%. So like obviously each month has 4 weeks, right? So
mm.
25%. So 1 week you need to pay always. That's what I always did. You need to pay all your bills,
Mm.
your rent, your supermarket, your groceries, whatever, insurances, everything.
Mm.
And then the other 3 weeks you need to invest, you know. And that's what I did.
I like that.
That's what I did from the beginning, you know. So
Mm.
always Excel spreadsheet there. I always had my income from sorry, my income from the security job, income from all the other jobs I should do, private lessons, everything else. And then minus tax, minus this, minus that.
Mm.
1 week has to pay for all of that.
Yeah,
And then again, they might say, oh, but my income is not enough to pay my rent. So then you need to live by your means. So you need to. I shared room. I shared house, shared room. Um, shared a bed seat. I went through all of that in order to make sure that twenty
it
five
would work.
percent was covered.
Yeah.
And then if you have discipline,
Mm.
to go through that in 5 years, 10 years, then you're gonna build something substantial.
Mm.
And that was my strategy. And it's still, nowadays I don't count much because I'm in a better position now.
Yeah.
But into recent years, I still follow the recipe.
Okay.
That was really important to get off the ground.
Did you learn that from anyone else, or did you just do that yourself?
No, I just learned that for myself. I do like in UK the get paid weekly.
Mm.
That's something that I think is very positive. It's not common in Brazil to get paid weekly.
Okay.
In Brazil, it's still in many ways we're still backwards in that. But getting paid weekly here
Mm.
is something very positive.
Nice.
Makes
Yeah.
you want more,
Yeah.
because it's fresh.
Yeah.
It only takes like 6 days so you can see the money
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing that, and that really has done something amazing for me in that sense. The 25% rule.
So I'm gonna backtrack quite a bit there because I wanna get into the depths of like how you started jujitsu. So obviously you mentioned that all these different experiences led you now we're in the UK and you're
hmm
able to do security, which
hmm
was a blessing in
hmm
disguise. But
hmm
what actually made you get into jujitsu?
The job at the magazine,
The magazine job.
the job at the magazine.
Mm.
Basically, it was like this. I was doing the printing, and I was also doing websites. At that time, websites were not anything popular. Maybe Ford, Chevrolet, maybe the big Audi, BMW. They would have websites, but
Mm.
big companies,
Mm.
no normal Joes like me and you,
Yeah, yeah.
a gym, a local gym wouldn't have a website.
No.
But I was already building that. I don't know. I was already excited about that building. There was a software called Flash. Flash, because you have HTML back. This is like, don't know if people do that kind of stuff. It's still, because now today everything is apps. But at the time we had the HTML, that was the coding that we used to use, and then this new thing came, Flash. So I like to do the Flash because you have animations and everything, not as static as HTML. Long story short, I came into that technology and I showed to my friend. My friend said, "Oh man, I think that jiu-jitsu gym around the corner. There's a jiu-jitsu gym around the corner. I know the guys there. They'll be interested."
Mm.
And then I was like, "Great, okay, yeah, let's go there." I go there sometimes to train. My brother trains there. Then I was okay, so I went there to start to sell my services, to sell this new technology, that I had to the guys in the gym. I showed them, they liked this. Oh, that's really nice, but I said, but we're such a small business, like say only big companies have a website. I don't really see the benefit that it's a big expense for the gym nowadays.
Mm.
Then he said, look, if you're a good guy, so I'm happy for you to do the website for us, and then you can pay half of the gym. Then I thought, well, it's kind of my first customer.
Yeah.
so, so the gym was my first customer.
Wow.
And then I got you because I didn't plan. I didn't see any like Hoist Grace or anybody at that time. I didn't know they existed. I heard on the radio here about jiu-jitsu. The Brazilian guys doing well. Brazil's always done good, but never had the interest of doing jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And then that friend taking me to the gym, and obviously the guy gave me the opportunity, for to pay half. In some ways, pushed me, So that was the first encouragement I had to start. And then I started. And I remember jiu-jitsu for me. I was 16 years old. So then that helped me obviously to get to other my favorite magazine there.
Mm.
At that time I think I was probably unemployed at that time. I was in transition between my family business, the uncle business where I left, and at that time probably I was trying to do something by myself. And then by going to jiu-jitsu,
Mm.
it gave me the network to go to the magazine that I always wanted. So
Okay, I
one thing
see.
helped the other.
Yeah.
And then going more towards jiu-jitsu, why I carry on jiu-jitsu, I always like to be different. I always like I done everything I've done. I mean, at least most people, for the crowd. For example, we start working young age.
Mm.
My family at least. No of my cousins were working at the time. Going to jiu-jitsu, I remember going to jiu-jitsu, and then I see kids going to nightclubs and stuff, going drink and
Mm.
go do skateboard and whatever. But jiu-jitsu for me was like getting my gi, putting my white belt in there, walking the street with my white belt like that. It was nice. It felt good, felt different. Because at the gym, I was the youngest one. I always been the youngest one. My nickname was StarTac. StarTac is a little one of the smallest mobile phones from Motorola,
Yeah.
American brand.
Okay.
So I was like the little one,
The
basically.
little one, the
Yeah, I
younger
was the
one.
little one.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Brazil, we say like Ronaldinho,
Yeah. Yeah.
like so. At the end, you just put so you people give Brazilian people like to give nicknames
Yeah.
for
Okay.
everything. So I was the little one, basically.
Yeah. The
So I
little
was
one.
16 years old. All my friends, I was always in my age group was always I was always above my age group, but always hanging out with the elder guys,
Okay.
and that helped me to like do everything early, So that kept me jiu-jitsu, and then jiu-jitsu gives you this power, like when you start learning the techniques and stuff. You got some guys who are talented because they are like physically talented. They're like they got long reach, long arms and stuff. That's great. Which I don't think is my case. Never been my case to be like the strongest one at the gym as well. But I was always the guy that my discipline was always there, so I
Always
wasn't
there.
missing any class.
Yeah.
So maybe it would take me 3 classes to learn, while somebody else would take 1 class. But sometimes that guy that learning 1 class doesn't appreciate as much because he learns quick. He's gifted. He's got long arms. He's strong.
Yeah.
So I was always have to work double to get the same results as that guy, and that's a positive thing
Mm.
because it always makes you work
Massively.
harder.
Yeah.
So I was putting the hours. I was putting hours. I was going every day. Then I started going every day, and then hanging out with that kind of guys. The network the jiu-jitsu gave me. I made good friends and stuff, and I enjoyed not only to be able to roll with those guys, and because I was there doing a lot. I started becoming good at that. I started submitting the other guys, and then for a young chap, like 16-year-old, to be able to submit. And I see nowadays, like you see the kids there, they come around, they be able to handle themselves against the 20, the 30-year-olds,
Mm.
and it's good for them,
Mm.
for their build their confidence is massive.
Mm.
So at the beginning was that was like helping me networking and helping me to get my confidence up there
Mm.
to be able to handle myself because I don't know, but when you have an older brother, when you have like you like you feel like you protected. I don't know, that's how I always felt my friends. All my other friends they had elder brothers or cousins, whatever, big families. So they always protected. If you beat me, you gotta see my brothers. I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
like I had nobody. I was just be myself. I'm the eldest brother, the eldest cousin. So I have to lead by example. Everybody else is behind me there.
Mm.
So I was the shield basically. So I was just throw out there, and then jiu-jitsu kind of gave me the confidence to be able to be that guy.
Handle, yeah, to
Yeah,
handle anything,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I relate to that massively too because I'm an
Mm.
older brother. I've always had that, right, I have to protect everybody
Yeah,
instead of getting protected myself.
yeah,
Obviously, my mum would always
yeah,
protect me, but yeah,
yeah,
especially for my sister. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
But
hear
that,
that.
but that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's great to take responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think nowadays that's what I try to teach my students there. And when you come to learn jiu-jitsu, I mean, you saw that I wasn't at the gym when you came for a trial,
Mm.
and you had people there to help you.
Yeah.
And I heard all the feedbacks for the students that they did help a lot. They
Mm.
they know what they're doing. They do that because they love. They don't get paid for that. They just do it
No,
because
they
they
just do
love.
it because they
So
care.
they
Yeah.
take responsibility.
Mm.
That's what we teach. We teach them to share. Because you might go there now and you learn, oh, I don't know drill number one, I don't know how to pass someone's guard. Somebody will be there,
We'll
I'll be
teach you.
there. That's my
Yeah.
job, but the other guys will be doing that because they love to share.
Yeah.
And hopefully, by the time that you become, a blue belt, whatever, a new guy will come and say,
I'll be able
can you
to
go
help.
there, and help
Mm.
out George? Yeah, yeah, no problem, I can do it. And you're gonna be like, hey, can I help? Like you're gonna be wanting
Yeah. Yeah.
to take responsibility,
Yeah.
and that's what another one of the greatest things about jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu community, I mean, I've only just been introduced to it, but beautiful community. Like
Yeah,
you said, when I came to the couple of sessions that I did, everyone was so friendly. And I think it can be such an intimidating environment. But then once you're in there, you realize, oh, like it's not, well, for me anyway, it wasn't scary when I was in there.
yeah,
Before it was terrifying. I have to admit, I
yeah,
was terrified to go
yeah,
in there because
yeah,
it's a combat sport. It can be presented as a hostile environment, but it was the
yeah,
complete opposite.
yeah,
Everyone was friendly. Everyone introduced themselves. Oh, you weren't doing this right. Let me show you the correct way. Like,
yeah,
and it put like a whole different perspective for me because I don't come from a fighting background. I don't come from
yeah,
I've had life struggles, but I don't,
yeah,
I don't come from like a fighting background. So it
yeah,
was a whole new experience for me. And it flipped my whole mindset of, oh, it's not this, it's actually this.
yeah,
And this is why I understand why people fall in love with it because and the community as well. It's a beautiful community.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so going from obviously you had no interest, you became really good in jiu-jitsu. Now you've got a gym. Talk to me about your gym.
First of all, in jiu-jitsu, when you start you start going around to competitions and stuff, you start to see that people usually their name, like my one jiu-jitsu should be called Ivan Maciel BJJ, as you would call George Blackman BJJ. So
Yeah.
people do that kind of stuff. Usually they get to their black belt, they open their own club, and blah blah blah. So my gym, when I first came to the UK and I first started teaching, then I spoke to Saul Gilbert, and I was teaching at his place, and just out of respect, look, so can I in jiu-jitsu we do that kind of thing, put our names and our club and Tim, can I? His place was called ZT Fight School, so like I say, it's very well known here in Brighton, especially at that time. So then he's always very he's always very nice and gave me the opportunity. I said, look, no, okay, no problem. Then I said, okay, good. Look at his website. Boom, my logo. I bought the ivanmaciel.com, BJJ Brighton, all the web domains. I already bought that time. So look, that's already. So oh, cool. But then he started to ask me to do some of the printing stuff for
Wow.
him. I was to do
That
the
was cool.
posters for the fight nights and everything. So I already came up with the idea when I started teaching. I really thinking about the logo, thinking about the website and everything because obviously it connects, both, all my passions, the printing company, the creating something.
Mm.
Jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is an art.
It
It's
is not.
about creating as
Mm.
well. So with those two things connected, I've started the Ivan Maciel BJJ. The fight school, the time was great for me as a foundation. And then after the time, because I was doing so much, I became a very expensive employee,
Mm.
and then that's the truth, So then Saul said, look, I can't afford to pay you because all the other coaches they make like less than what you do, and I understand you delivering, you are making your money and stuff. And then we, in mutual agreement, we decided that it was time for me to try my own thing, and then because I had my students coming to me and say, oh, why do you go open your own thing and stuff? Because I've always been grateful and very loyal. I'm a very loyal person,
Mm.
and even though I could do that by myself, they make the first step to leave the gym and leave Saul and ZT. I never did that. I always stayed in there. I stayed for much extra time than I could have done. And then and again, because obviously I was quite kind of, it didn't make sense for him for me to keep me there, and I had his blessing to start my own journey. Then we're looking for a place. I had students helping me because this is the thing, like when you, no matter how big you are in, if in jiu-jitsu you will find people likewise, people that will connect with you,
Yeah.
you know. And at that time I probably had 10 students, but those 10 students they would go to war with me, I had the police officers, I had the business owners, we get people from all walks of life, and together, when I said, look, guys, unfortunately we have to leave fight school, we need to look for a new place. I had someone, oh, I'll work at the Brighton University, I can get a place for us there. Then somebody else, oh, there's a place around the Boundary Road that's available. There's people, people talk, people know their thing.
Mm.
They might be just white belt in jiu-jitsu, but they be black belt in something else,
Mm.
right? And every little helps, like Tesco says.
Like Tesco's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so then we're looking for places. We started then our own club in the Brighton University. I've been teaching there for a few months. until we found this place, a Boundary Road, is where we are now.
Mhm.
So it wasn't. I don't know. Like I said, it's just God, man. It's just crazy because it was just a room, maybe I would say double this size here. So it was 9 meters by 9.5 by 4.5. So
Not massive, no.
45 square meters,
Yeah.
ish. Um, it was just a room that had a pillar in the middle as well. And I said to the guys, look, this can be the gym. They're like, but there's a pillar in the middle. It's so small. It was like it was a shop, like in a shop. There you go. But a location was great because just next to the train station, opposite to Audi, high street kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at the time we couldn't choose much, and at the time it was so much harder to get planning permission. You need to get change of use and everything, and it's something that obviously when you go for business you have to look for that.
Mm.
Nowadays it's a bit more flexible because obviously with the internet, having a physical space, landlords are struggling,
Yeah.
to rent out as well. So the government made it be easier, like more flexible now. But back in the day, it was be harder, especially starting a business. And yeah, so many variables that they link. That place was closed for a couple of years. So if I go Google, you still be able to go on Google Street View. It looked that it was like really really bad. Let's put in those words. It's being like wrapped for a couple of years. Then I remember looking there and I couldn't find. There's no contact as well. Maybe they didn't rent because they're very bad at marketing.
Maybe,
They
yeah.
should come to me.
I should have came to
Yeah,
Ivan.
so there was no like, I couldn't see anything there. Like, oh, how do I contact? Then I just walked in the street up in the first estate agent on the corner, and then I remember the lady called Haley. I said, "Oh, hey, my name is Ivan. I'm looking for. I saw that place there is available. Do you know who the landlord is?" She said, "Yeah, I know. He's my client. He got the flat upstairs as well. We rent the flat, but he also owns the downstairs."
Wow.
Then I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." Like,
Another good thing.
Ivan's luck, right? Whatever it is. Then yeah, I spoke to her. She was like, yeah, Robert, his name. Then she said, "Oh, can you speak to him?" Then she got my number. We exchanged contacts. Long story short, he he was happy to see us there. We explained to him what we wanted. He just wanted to get rid of that. He just look,
Mm.
he didn't say those words, but we could feel that he just wanted to give anything for us there. And at that time, I got a great deal. I remember, I was to work at Casablanca nightclub. So what happens is the owner there, Auntie, she was very helpful in terms of business. Like I told her, look, I'm looking for a place to do jiu-jitsu now and stuff. And then I said, look, I found this place. I was updating her every step. And then she said to me, look, 2008 recession came. I don't know, probably too
Yeah.
young for that, but
Yeah.
2008
I've
in
heard
then.
of it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was 2010, but still the refractions of that was, Superior Life in a high street. So she said, look, the recession is still there. Landlords are not renting anything. Just tell him that you want. I said, look, I'm gonna ask. I was like, oh, look, I'm very clever. I want a 3 months of free rent period. I'm gonna ask him this, and that. And then she said, no, no, no. You ask 6 months. He's gonna give you 6 months free rent, and he want and ask for one 6 months half rent.
Wow.
So I said, no, but the guy is that the only thing I've got. Like that's the only place I don't have other option. That's my only
That's the
option.
only option.
If
Yeah.
you're gonna burn the option, then we have no options.
Yeah.
The guy's gonna tell me, to go away. And then she said, no, you're gonna get it. So she's very, like tough
Yeah.
like that. And then I thought, okay, I'll do what she's saying. Then I went to the guy. We sat down for a coffee, and then I said, look, I made a business plan and everything. Then the business plan was there, like, I would like 6 months free rent period so I can set up the business, and 6 months half price. And then he was like, okay, no problem, I'll give you that. Then I was like, damn, that's so good.
What?
That was a great deal. Because then with the boost, that
Yeah.
I had 10 students, just those 10 people that would come with me. Then I could buy the mats. Then I found somebody, a good friend of mine that unfortunately passed away last year. He was the one that supplies the mats. So they're always gonna have people. I know, like say, I know someone. Then when you have a group with people, people
Yeah.
get together. You know.
Yeah.
Then, oh, I need this. Oh, I know somebody. Oh, I need that. Oh, I need somebody else. Then like jiu-jitsu is great for that. That kind of network. So for every problem we had a solution. Maybe two solutions.
Yeah.
And yeah, then again the rent would be obviously, as a small business, the problem is always the rent.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then given that support, imagine 6 months no rent, then 6 months half price. And actually, I don't know if it was my luck, but this is the thing. When I went to pay the full rent the first time, I went and read, and then because my English wasn't great at the time, I remember asking one of my flatmates. I said, "Look, can you read for me here on the lease? Oh no, it says here that you have 1 year half price. Oh really? 1 year? Oh, that's good. So there, I remember I, I had because I had to check. Okay, so I thought, okay, now it's time to me to pay the full rent.
Yeah.
Then I read it, but didn't believe because I thought my English is not good. Then I asked the guy, the English guy that should live with me, the flatmate, said, "Can you read this for me? So when is the date I should pay the full rent?" No, you still in 6 months time, so you still have. It says here they have 1 year half price. I don't know
What?
if he's solicitor because his solicitor typed
Yeah, yeah.
typed the contract, the lease, but my lease was like 1 year actually half price. So
Wow.
so it was like damn, that's like having a free. So I never thank God I never made a loss in my business. My
Good.
business always made profit
Mm.
from day one because when I started, I had those guys to support me because
Yeah.
obviously I was there trying something for us. So it was great, and I think their support. But then even starting, I had because new people were joining. Like by by 1 month, 2 months, I already had 20, 30 students. So we kind of double every month the number of
Yeah.
students and people coming. So I was in a good position already when I wanted to pay rent. Look, thank you very much. That's the money.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to pay the rent. So yeah, so that's how we started back in 1st of February 2011. That's when
Still remember. Wow.
we first started. Yeah, first lease started. And then it was a 10-year lease, breaking five. And then, long story short, I got stories for this whole afternoon if you want.
We'll make many more. That'll be fine.
Yeah. In COVID time, my rent 2020. That's when my lease expired, and because the uncertainty, we're in a good position. We have it's been 10 years of business. It was great, but then with that uncertainty, nobody knew what was going on.
Mm.
In terms of lease, the landlord, which was a different person, did not want me there anymore. I'm very good at dates. So on 25th of November, 2020, I received a notice from my landlord saying, "Look, we have 3 months because my lease would expire in February 2021. So he gave me like 3 months notice. Look, thank you for everything. I never missed a payment and everything. I'm good with that thing, those things.
Mm.
So he said, look, you've been a great tenant and everything, but due to the uncertainty, we don't know what's gonna happen with COVID. We would like to try get this lease to somebody else because that kind of business, you never know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, he gave me the notice in November, so to empty the room, to vacate my premises in 2021, in February 2021. So we had nowhere to go, and we became business because at that time was really hard. We became business homeless, I would say, because I
Mm.
had to take everything to my house, mats, office stuff, computer, everything was kind of pushed on the corner of my house and mats in my garden for at least 3 months. So we had no business in the middle of the COVID. But it was I don't know, like I said, God, I don't know
Mm.
how many times I said God, but he's great. You know what I'm saying? God is great.
God is great.
I remember the government here, it did help a lot,
Mm.
and I am grateful. I remember I gave an interview to BBC Radio, I think, one morning. In the morning, one day, like I wish to sleep quite late because COVID time, you do
Just do
nothing,
what you
right?
like. Yeah.
I remember BBC calls. This is whatever Sarah from BBC. I don't know if you heard about Boris Johnson just used the jiu-jitsu as he said about jiu-jitsu on the COVID thing about the vaccine. I was like, I don't know. I mean, you would like to talk? We'd like to make an interview with you for BBC and on the phone.
Wow.
In the next 20 minutes, I'll call you. You're gonna be live. I was like, okay. I
What?
like to take challenges, like,
Yeah.
no
Let's
problem.
do
Then I
it.
went straight away on Google because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So basically, they found the vaccine, and the analogy that Boris Johnson used is like we did a jiu-jitsu. You can look online. We found a jiu-jitsu way that this vaccine uses. The vaccine uses the whatever they got against the vaccine, the virus against the virus. Like that was
Wow.
what he said.
Yeah.
I just went online there, just checked that quick so I know what I was talking about. And
Yeah.
then my phone rings. It's like, hello, Ivan, good morning. Ivan, this is from Maciel from OneJiuJitsu in Brighton, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about the Boris Johnson using Jiu-Jitsu as a analogy for the new
What?
vaccine, the COVID? Then I was like, I don't remember what I said, but I was just woke up. I was like,
Like what?
yeah, I didn't, I think it was great, then talk about Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing, like getting the name out there and everything else. and it was awesome for that. But like I say, the government, going back to what the government did for business and stuff, they gave those grants. And
Mm.
for business like mine, that were struggling, we couldn't open and everything else,
Mm.
it was great because in Brazil they didn't give, there was no support. And
No.
again, when you have this opportunity to, like I know the reality in Brazil, how much we struggle, how hungry we are now for an opportunity, and it's sad, you know. I wish Brazil was as good as UK in that sense. The platform would be great like this for entrepreneurs, for business owners and stuff, for
Mm.
everybody really. So the UK was great for me because obviously for us, for as a jiu-jitsu, we were able to. I was able to stay here because I could go back to Brazil as well. So it was not only helped me, but helped my community, you know, to
Mm.
stay alive. Those grants and so many other business, those grants they helped because it was a substantial amount that we got given because we were closed. I would
Yeah.
like to be open to make the money instead, but as we could, we followed the, you know, all the protocol and everything else. When we got a grant, I was like, okay, so I'm, you know, a business homeless now, but I've got some cash, you know.
Yeah.
Then I called the lady that was the daughter of the landlord, and I said, look, have you found anybody to occupy the premises 90 Boundary Road? She was like, no, it's been 3 months now, you know, we haven't found anybody. I said, look, would you like me, can I go back in there? Then she said, look, you're being a great tenant, you left the place like better than you found and everything. I'm happy to help you. What do you need? I said, look, uh, would you like to sell the place? Well, yeah, I would like to sell. I'm interested in buying it. She said, yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Then, long story short, we made an offer because I had a cash coming from the grants, and
Yeah.
then I spoke to a few of my students. And then they said, look, coach, if you need, you know, I've got this much, I've got that much. And again, jiu-jitsu community gets
Come
together,
together. Yeah.
you know. So, you know, we got together, people put some money, and then we bought the freehold that time. Long story short
Wow.
was that we bought the freehold. And then, but you know, and I paid them back. So they didn't lend me the money to make money or interest or anything. I
No.
said, look, pay me whatever you can. And obviously, I like to just clear my debts straight
Yeah.
away. And I still, one of them is still pay like I got like a loan from Santander, so I still pay. So yeah, so then we bought the freehold, and then that's when the gym boomed because then having the freehold gave us the access to the garden as well because we bought the, you know, the freehold, the land.
Yeah.
So then in 2022 we applied for planning permission and we doubled the size of the gym. So the gym that you see now that has like you know, the reception has
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lounge area. It
Yeah.
does purposely built for what we do, for the parents to come around. They have a place to hang out, like off, you know,
Mm.
co-working. We have a change room for ladies and for the gents. Everything there has been, we had time because
Mm.
obviously we've been in there for 10 years and we lack this, we lack that.
Mm.
And for me, like I like the TVs there and everything like that modern futuristic kind of look. I always like that. I always wanted
Yeah.
that.
It's nice. Clean.
And then yeah, then having that as my background, creative mind behind, people sometimes ask, oh, who did this, you know, who was the architect? I said, oh, I did. And I still do it. I still do a little things there, DIY and stuff. I'm
Mm.
not great at manual jobs and stuff like that, but I like, I have the idea like, oh,
Yeah.
let's do this way, that way. So everything is like I don't know, man. Like I say, God is always there doing his works for me. You know, I'm waking up in the morning. I'm putting the discipline. You know, and then things they start to match. You know,
Mm.
the jiu-jitsu, like I say, the opportunity. You know, even in COVID, which was a horrible time. You know,
Horrible time. Yeah.
you know, the grant came, and then the lady couldn't rent the place, and then so the opportunity was there.
Opportunity was
Even in
there.
that
Yeah.
time, there's an opportunity for you
Yeah.
to you know, to make the most of it. And then yeah, then I think it was a good, it's been a good journey. You know, the gym obviously is big. You know, we got a great number of students. As a coach, I'm probably one of the first. I think we are the first full-time gym, jiu-jitsu gym in Brighton. You know, the first one. Now we got a few other ones, which is great. You know, they're like gain the name of jiu-jitsu out there as well.
Mm.
So there's a competition, but competition is always good
It's
because
always
it
good.
doesn't let you get too comfortable. You
Yeah.
know, so the competition is always good to keep, you know, because you push each other. You know,
Mm.
and I think there's a room for everybody. I mean, how many people we go around here? And some people never heard about jiu-jitsu before.
No.
So I think if you are waking up in the morning, you have your discipline, you know, if you offer a good job, get the name out there, you get students,
Mm.
you know, and people come and people go.
Mhm.
Hopefully you'll come again.
Yes, I will. I will. I promise. I
Yeah,
promise. Yes.
yeah, and again we've been there for, it's been now since, you know, so 16 years now we've been in that place. So since it's 15 years now. So since 2011,
Mm.
but now obviously we're more like ready for business. You know, like before, it was kind of amateur, I would say. The love was always been there,
Mm.
but now we got professional setup. I'm like the most humble way to say, but I'm proud of what we got. You
Yeah, you
know,
should be, man.
we built that with a lot, with lots of love,
Mm.
sweat and tears, like they say.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're ready to welcome people. We have classes for kids from the age of 5. Actually, today we have that's one of my favorite ones because I can see my son joining the class very soon. We have classes then for the teenagers, which is so busy. Like last few days, we had like 25 kids on the map there.
Wow.
So for our space, we can comfortably. I would say I built a gym for 16 people.
Mm.
16 people can roll nicely without taking turns and stuff. Our mat space is ideal for 16 adults. Kids, okay, 20, 22, they can roll. But we are like 20, 26 is like our max. We have to put like a waiting
A
list.
limit, yeah.
How popular that is.
Wow.
And then yeah, we do run like ultra MMA events, white collar with David Smith from the Ultra events, which is very popular as well. Been going on for 8 years now with that, so that helps. It's a bit like charity work as well, so
Mm.
it helps them as well with that.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I mean, we're always happy to help the community. We have people sometimes coming. If you see they struggle with anxiety, and so we do our job as well. We're
Mm.
there, we open doors there, open door policy to
Mm.
anyone really that would like to come and try. We always offer a free trial. People can see
Yep.
for me it's not about the money. I'm I could be in Brazil right now. I could be in Brazil back in the day, but I could be in Brazil right now enjoying the weather there and everything else. But I do enjoy obviously because it's a profitable business and everything. It makes
Yeah.
sense to be here. Yes, it does. But the giving people what jiu-jitsu is, give the opportunity to people to
Mm.
shine. I have a few students who grow up at the gym from the young age, and now like one of them is well known in Brighton, Jeffrey Almeida.
I know Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey's
That's my friend, yeah.
he's been my boy there since he was 12 years old. So doing that, like giving the opportunity for the
For
tool,
him, yeah.
for him to learn and stuff like that. I want to see him in UFC. I want him see him succeeding.
I want him to be a world
Yeah,
champion, man. And
yeah,
he's getting that, bro.
yeah,
I love Jeffrey to
yeah,
pieces. So
yeah.
he went to, just off topic, but he joined my school, secondary school late,
Mm-hmm,
during, I think it was year 9 or 10.
mm-hmm,
Didn't really speak to him too much then because I
mm-hmm,
was quite a quiet kid in school. But then once school like finished and you
mm-hmm,
sort of like grow up and do little things,
mm-hmm,
I went into boxing,
mm-hmm.
and then he was like training me for a little while, and then the
Yeah,
connection came back.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, Jeffrey is going to be world champion one day because
yeah.
because he's at Kenshiro now,
Yeah,
isn't
he's
he?
very
Yeah, he's a
talented.
coach
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I see him teaching jiu-jitsu,
but
which is great.
it's so cool
Yeah.
that you've seen him grow up
Mm-hmm.
and now get to that stage, and
Yeah.
you blessed him with the opportunity to fight. Like,
Exactly.
it's
No,
cool.
it's good to see it because I see him teaching the classes and stuff. He
Yeah.
teaches there. Like I said, they're not competing against us. I see as long as you spreading the word of jiu-jitsu, giving people opportunity, I
Yeah.
think is great. You know. So Kenny is a good friend of mine as well. He teaches
Yeah.
the Muay Thai, the MMA, and we grew up together. We used to work at a fight school together. So with Jeffrey, I actually sent Jeffrey there in the first place for Jeffrey to improve his striking.
Mm.
Ended up staying there. But it's great to see that when he teaches jiu-jitsu, he teaches exactly how
How
he's
you
been
saw
learning
it.
from us.
Yeah.
The drills, we have like a drill system that I
Mm.
can see them doing that. The warm-ups and everything. And if that helps him to pay his bills and stuff like that, that's awesome. I'm happy.
Good on him. Yeah.
But I don't want him just doing that. I want him to succeed, to be,
Succeed, yeah.
to be good because he got so much potential.
100%, man.
So
Good
hopefully,
fighter.
hopefully we'll see him in UFC.
Hopefully.
It'll be nice to get we'll go to UFC. I've never been to the UFC,
Nah,
to watch
same.
UFC.
Nah.
Because I don't want to go and sit at the back. I thought to myself, no, I want to sit when one of my students gave me the ticket, you
Yeah,
in the corner or sit right in front. I don't gonna pay for it.
No, Jeffrey will be the guy to do that.
Yeah, I'm
Hopefully.
Sure. I'm sure he will. That'll be nice.
To sum this all up, obviously this has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to anyone potentially starting business or even jiu-jitsu?
Oh, both jiu-jitsu and business is about perseverance, is about discipline. Waking up in the morning, I would say, especially as a business,
Mm.
jiu-jitsu, sometimes we have late classes. So in case I wake up, I'll be late. But in business, I think, from my own experience, who am I to give advice? I'm just like a young chap, I would say, in this scenario. But wake up early, be there, be the first, show up, rainy days, snowy days sometimes, because in the sunshine, everybody is easy to show up. But,
Mm.
you know, I mean, from my experience, I was like I said, I have a pay slip for 104 hours. Beat that,
Mm,
beat that.
mm,
Like it's not full time. It's doubled. It's three times
yeah,
what a normal person would work. So if you want to succeed in with everything you want to do, you need to put the hours. You need to sacrifice. So do what other people don't want to do. I would say it helps if you do something that you're passionate about,
mm,
something that you enjoy doing. Like I said, every time I go to the gym now, I go teach. I'm excited because I want to. Obviously, for me, it's kind of I'm gonna go see you. I'm gonna see my boys that they are like my friends. So I'm excited about seeing people. I do what I love.
love
So,
that.
but find something that you love, something if it's possible, something you're good at,
Mm,
and then that will hopefully every little helps. Like that thing about waking up early. Just I actually enjoy doing this. Will you be able to find that easy? No.
no.
You might, doing the security job, even though it wasn't really my favorite thing to do. I was showing up. I was never late. Have discipline.
Mm,
Don't be late. You will have to do that for a while, and the discipline, be constant. Nothing is gonna happen just like that. It will take time. It took me, I mean, it's been 15 years since I opened my business, but I've been doing growing up in the business kind of mentality.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a lifetime. Not, nowadays, I think with the internet and everything,
Mm,
people might think, oh, I'm gonna come up with an app for this. I'm gonna come up with that. They think about hitting the jackpot and boom and change their life in one day. It might happen for one person
yeah.
in a billion that we are now. But the realistic, and that's never been my dream. I never dream about that. Be more realistic.
Mm,
Like I said, foot on the ground, feet on the ground. I think is a long term. Think about long term. And like I say, for the young ones, I would say, like I said this before, might be controversial, but don't get baggage.
mm,
Don't get the baggage. You have time, hopefully, to have girlfriend, you have to have kids and everything later in life, after 30, definitely. So invest that time. That your friends will be. I never look. I don't drink. I
same,
don't smoke. I never done
same.
drugs. So be different. I think if you are different, you are putting the hours, and have faith. Have faith.
Have a faith.
Like whatever it might be. It is good. It helps because there will be days where you're gonna doubt.
Mm,
And like I say, I do believe. So I'm quite biased. Talk about because I talk about the Ivan's luck. I talk about that God will help you.
mm,
Like God will test you. Perhaps will test you, but in the Bible says, like trust me. I'll be with you there. It's hard for me to translate because the Bible I
it's
read
fine, yeah.
was back in Portuguese. But God says, yeah, just trust me. Go. I'm a hero for you. I'm going. I'm going. So I think the faith discipline. There are big elements on that. And just keep pushing forward, but don't look for anything short term. Whatever you
Mm.
do, you think about middle term, like 5 years, 10 year, 15-year plan, at least.
Amen to that, mate.
Yeah.
Amen to that. And Ivan, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate you. I
No
appreciate your
worries.
time and all your wisdom.
Thanks
If you
for the
are in,
opportunity.
no, that's all good. If you are in the Brighton area or Port Slade area, definitely go check his gym out. Go have a free trial. Go do a class. Sign up to the memberships. I'm going to kick myself in the ass and start coming again. I promise you that. I'll say
Nice,
that here
nice.
now. I
Have a day.
promise.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm going to make time for it
Thank you,
because
man.
it's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy.
Thank you.
But yes, follow his socials. Go to the classes. Spread love to this guy because he deserves it.
OneJiuJitsu.co.uk,
Yep.
bjbrighton.co.uk.
Yep.
Come see us and happy days.
Yes. All of it will be in the description. And yes, thank you for watching. Take care and see you later.